Hello there, and welcome to an all-new episode of Talking Smack, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and much, much more. I'm your host, Josh Scar, and joining me, as always, what's up? Alex is pointing up. I don't know if he's getting really excited, and he's just...
Did you
I did the thing again. I did the thingy again.
Welcome to T-Smack, home of the T-Smack. May I take your order?
Just rolling with it at this point. I'm too tired for this shit. Welcome to an all-new episode of Talking Smack. Hello there, I am your host, Josh Scar. Joining me, as always, is Alex, where we talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and so much more. Again, I am Josh Scar. I am very tired. Alex is on top of things, though. He seems pretty jittery for the moment. He must have had a good cup of coffee before we recorded. Alex, how are you doing? How is that cup of coffee? Irish?
Oh, it's always Irish. I go for a triple macchiato Game of Thrones Highland coffee here.
So wine with a shot of espresso?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and a little bit, just a little bit of green for those, the Highland Hills.
Yes, the Highland Hills. You're not fully clean unless you're fresh, fully queen.
Where's the Highlands, Scotland? Are the rains down in Africa? I don't know.
No, you bless the rains down in Africa.
Oh, okay.
The Highlands just have lots of rain. I need to bring the energy up here. But yeah, how are you doing though, Alex? Because you made a joke about a thing, but how are you?
I am actually doing pretty well. It's been a week. It's been, I believe, as you said just as before we started, it's been a month of a week.
It sure has. That's part of why I'm so tired.
Yeah. We've left false fall to third summer.
Yarp.
Just dealing with issues of life. Looking forward. I did find some great time this week to just sit down and go, why does AMC have all the Die Hard movies? What is the point of this? And I don't want to subscribe to AMC. So I went to the basement and dusted off this old relic. And I found my Die Hard 4-movie collection. And I was like, bless physical media. What about you, other than being tired?
I mean, yeah, I'm tired. This week, honestly, has been rough. And not for the reasons I think some people might think. I honestly do not care about any of that, in the sense that I am not in mourning. It's just been a long week. Lots of stuff required of me. And grief is in there, but not in the sense of like recency. It's more that like the Packers are doing really well and I miss talking to my dad. And so like it's one of those things where it's kind of bringing a lot of the other stuff down. Like I'm trying to be a little more present for the family and everything, but like I'm not blaming the Packers for being good and I'm depressed about it. It's more just like I don't really have people to talk about the Packers with like I did with my dad, because like I have people at work that I can talk with about it, but the main people I communicate with, they don't talk sports the way I do and my dad and I did. And so it doesn't fulfill me talking about them that way. Whereas my dad was always more in depth. Like it's kind of like talking with Ricky, but like he was able to carry on the conversation a little bit better and like in his own way. And so like them doing well kind of just makes me feel a little sad that he's not seeing how well they're doing right now, which we're recording before they play the Browns. Like this could take a really bad turn where my depression of not being able to talk to my dad about how well they're playing, and all of a sudden the depression becomes they lost to the Browns. That could take a different turn. I am good mentally overall, as well as we can be right now, but just little things here and there just piling up and bringing a little bit of tiredness and sadness to the forefront. But Judge Dredd didn't help either.
Yeah, no, I get you. Like the camaraderie, you're looking for that person who's there. Like I'm a Steelers fan, and thankfully I have one of our mutual friends to talk to them with. But there is no joy in our conversations because for the last 10 years, the Steelers have been the Steelers. And so, week one
game over 500, one and done in the playoffs, baby. Like that's the Steelers motto for the last 10 to 12 years.
The standard is the standard. So week one, came out like 4 touchdowns against the Jets or something like that. It's like, okay, they're the Jets. All the Steelers fans are like, oh yeah, we got a steal here with this 41-year-old quarterback with no knees. I'm like, yeah. I mean, no, Ben retired a few years ago. He's not playing anymore, guys. You have a different 41-year-old quarterback with no knees. And then then they played this weekend against a decent team, and the quarterback went 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and they got blown out.
Like, don't chalk that one up to him. Like, I'm not trying to make a lot of excuses, but he cannot play well in Seattle. Like, I don't think the NFL lets him win in Seattle.
Is it the foggy air? Is it the 12th man or 15th man, whatever the heck that
I really don't know what it is, but he just apparently is not allowed to win it up in Seattle after what happened in 2012 with the replacement refs. Like, they aren't allowed to win up there. Like, I remember the first time they ever unveiled their all white uniforms, they were up by multiple scores and they still ended up losing that game.
I mean, the only thing
he just isn't allowed to win. He isn't allowed to win those games.
I mean, the only thing really gets me through is talking to our friend and Pittsburgh Dad on YouTube, because he's just our spirit animal. He posts like 3 to 5 minute videos after, no matter what, win or lose, about his reactions during the game, because he's playing a Yinzer version of his dad, because they're all Pittsburgh boys. There's a lot of like random references to like local places that I don't get, but apparently are funny. No, it's the NFL season. You don't have that person to talk to, and I can understand that. Just like I don't understand how they allowed this movie to be greenlit.
I do, and we'll get on the other side of that after we hear from Karen and Ann over at Sugar Coated Murders. We'll be right back.
Hey, Ann Barner.
Hey, Karen Beatty.
We need a promo. Like where we talk about what we do on our podcast.
On our Sugar Coated Murder podcast? Like how we love to bake and talk about murder?
That's what we need to talk about.
There you go.
I think we've talked about it. Y'all find us on all your favorite listening apps.
Stay sweet.
And don't murder.
Because if you kill people,
we will talk about you.
And they will talk about you on YouTube as well. They have a live channel now, or not a live channel, but like a channel where they upload video content and they show you what they've been baking. So definitely check that out. The link is in the episode description. And now we are here to talk about Sylvester Stallone's endless pursuit to get himself a Die Hard, a Total Recall, some kind of franchise movie off the ground, instead of him just being action star man moving from property to property. Rambo had really kind of softened out. Rocky movies were no longer relevant after 5. And so Stallone in the 90s was all about trying to find a new niche. And with Judge Dredd, he was trying to create a franchise. Bravo to him for reaching into a comic book genre, because it's not something that was really heavily mined, at least not well in the 90s. You had Batman, and then you had a handful of middling hits with like The Rocketeer, Dick Tracy. DC's only Superman movie that came out in the 90s was Steel. And that was barely a Superman movie, if it ever even was. But Judge Dredd was created by John Wagner and Carlos Ezquerra. Ezquerra. The character debuted in 1977 with IPC Media, and he is still continuing today with a different publisher, which I forget what that publisher's name is. This movie is pretty much Dredd in the costume and name only. There is no sense of cynicism. There is no sense of satire. There is none of that. This is just a weird mishmash of Stallone wanting this movie to be an action comedy, but also a serious franchise starter. And it's not really any of these things, because there is a weird loss in translation from whatever the script was, whether they're trying to get it down to PG-13. Is it PG-13? I don't even remember. I thought this was rated R.
This is R.
Is it R? I didn't think there was enough F-bombs for it to get an R in the 90s.
Gore. A lot of gore.
I mean, there's some blood splatter, but a lot of it happens off screen too. And like, people get shot. There's no real squibs. It's a strange movie that is really trying to go in between where like RoboCop and Aliens ended up, where they're advertising toys to kids. And this one was, I remember some toys from this, but I can't say I remember the toys being a big hit. And I know kids didn't really really flock to this one as much as they did like Demolition Man, at least not in our area.
Yeah, this movie, the entire time I was watching this movie, and I'm glad you mentioned RoboCop, is I felt like it was straddling this weird line after Superman petered out, and they weren't really doing high budget comic book movies until Batman. And then you got this weird influx of like kind of hard boiled comic booky movies, like, well, we're just gonna try doing everything detective. And you know what's detective like? A judge. Because he's the judge.
Cop.
Yeah, the cop, but he's a judge, jury, and executioner. But we had like Dick Tracy, which someday I want to talk about Dick Tracy, because that movie is a trip.
I legitimately have not seen that movie since the 90s. It has been 30 some years since I've seen that movie.
I haven't seen the movie itself since the 90s, but it keeps peripherally coming up because every once in a while, Warren Beatty, who was Dick Tracy, who also directed it, I think co-wrote part of it, he has the rights locked to that movie down, but he has to do something Dick Tracy adjacent every few years to keep them. So like 3 or 4 years ago, he filmed Dick Tracy interviewing Warren Beatty.
Yeah, I remember that.
So there's some, and he also apparently shot like a pilot at one point that he paid for himself and some other stuff. But there was this weird part in the 90s, and this came out in 95, late 95, where you had RoboCop was petering out. You had Batman Returns. Batman Forever came out the same year. But then you also had like The Shadow and The Phantom. And you had this mix of like...
It was a weird response to Batman where they were like, hey, Batman was popular. Superhero movies are not the thing. It's clearly because it was a 1940s pulp movie. Or like Batman originated as a 1940s pulp hero. So let's make a bunch of movies about that stuff and not like, oh, the DC universe and like Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, those characters don't mean anything. It's the era that Batman came from, right?
Yeah. And so you have, and I can kind of feel that them not knowing what to do with this movie. And you can also feel like on screen the tug of war, what's happening, because you have a British director in Danny Canyon. British director apparently was a huge Judge Dredd fan. He argued with them that they have to film in the UK because that's where the series was created. And he was a young director coming off of his film school film. He did a hard boiled cop movie called The Young Americans with Harvey Keitel in 93, and then got this job, had just enough kind of like say to be like, we're gonna do a few things here. But then when Stallone comes on board, who sees this, as you said, a franchise kind of film, because cliffhanger or maybe might get a sequel, he's not ready to Stop It or My Mom Will Shoot was terrible, he got tricked into that, so he's looking for something. He's seen Batman running. He's seen the other people doing, superhero movies, and he comes in and you start getting this weird tension with it because he was trying to make the film PG-13 when the director knew this was an R-rated film because that's what Dredd is. And from something I read, Stallone wasn't aware what Judge Dredd was until he picked up the script.
This reads completely like Stallone just went, this is an action movie that maybe I can get a franchise out of.
Yeah.
He shows up, like, I don't know if you felt like this when you watched it recently. When he first shows up and like the way he's speaking, the way he's standing, there's no way he could have known of Buzz Lightyear because Buzz Lightyear didn't exist to the public yet. But he is very Buzz Lightyear when he first shows up. Like Judge Hershey, the rookie that they're dealing with, that she's training, they're just normal people. They're police officers that are stuck in a shootout, and then all of a sudden Dredd shows up and he is like, citizens of this block, I am Judge Dredd.
It is,
put down your weapons, prepare to be judged. He is just milking every second that camera is rolling on him for that that first appearance, which like when you get the like classic 90s thing of like you see the boots, the bike rolls away, and then you get him rolling through the fire, really cool, right out of a comic book page shot. And then you get him talking and you're just like, oh God, he doesn't understand this assignment at all.
See, I had the opposite feeling because I hadn't seen this since I was a kid, because I know I didn't see this in theaters. I probably saw this on TBS, TNT, something like that. So very edited for television. And so this is the first time watching it. Now I'm kind of peripherally aware of just how much people hated it, and because of all the YouTube channels of people mocking it, and how 2012's Carl Urban's Dredd's so much better because he never takes off the helmet and all that stuff, and he understands it. But I was going to this with mostly fresh eyes of I don't remember. So I enjoyed the original, like the starting title role with you have the panels from the comic.
I was pleasantly surprised by that. I was like, oh wow, they're acknowledging the comic book exists.
Yeah, the kind of like the matte paintings blend, also like green screen blending of them showing the city. I was like, okay, this is cool. 400 million crowded into Mega City. I think 1 is this one, Mega City 1.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
At one point, I laughed. So I laughed really hard because they showed like the landscape of the US, and it's like Mega City 1 is like kind of where New York is. Mega City 2 is kind of like where Atlanta is. And then it just is Texas City.
You don't mess with Texas. They don't change the name for nothing.
And then like Mega City 4 is and 5 are in like California-ish. And I was just like, yeah, it makes sense. No, they're not going to be in Mega City 3. It's going to be Texas. But I was really impressed by the decision to be as comic book-ish accurate with the giant PAL drones, the weird-ass looking motorcycles that they have no reason to be that large. It's just because that's how they look in the comic. These overly built things, very was it Rob Liefeld or whatever?
Are you just talking in general, like in similar
like
to
like sizing and
Rob
stuff like
Liefeld,
that? Yeah. But I will say I did really think briefly that Sylvester Stallone should have been Captain America, because there is one shot where like he's standing before his mentor Judge Fargo, I think his name is Max
von Sydow.
Yeah. And it's a side shot where his like pauldrons are off, and you realize this is like late 40s Stallone, because he's lost some of the Rambo like
he's really lean. Yeah, he's pretty lean.
But it's just his legs that are lean, because his chest is still huge, and it reminded me
his back is definitely not as defined as it was either. No. Like there's some shots from the back, and you're like, huh, is that the same guy?
Yeah, where Stallone is, because Stallone was even now he's known for being overly muscle man, even though he's 79. I mean, Lord knows what cocktails he's on to maintain that body. But it had this weird side profile shot where I'm like, oh man, he skipped leg day. But he has that like that famous Captain America Rob Liefeld cover where the shield is smaller than Captain America's chest.
Oh yeah, I hate when that comes up on my social media feed.
And the cops, I really feel like the cops, like Diane Lane, who's Hershey, and who knows who the other cops are, the other judges. Everyone seems to be like on board with, okay, this is Crap Town, kind of like RoboCop. This is very comic book colors. This is very Batman Forever, just splash of colors everywhere. They're not using the same sets, but it looks like the same alleyways are and stuff are being used. Nondescript apartment building complexes and all that.
Yeah, to me it looked like they stole a big chunk of the set from the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh yes, I can totally see that. And then when he rolls up, I actually kind of dug it. The whole like him being overly boisterous, his really halted speaking, because I'm like, okay, Stallone may be trying to like do something here where he is the fearsome, most scary judge that everybody is afraid of. That first action sequence where he does that weird body RoboCop churn walk up, and he's like telling them like, why are you cowering? they're 300 yards up and they're like M quadruple 76, things are only bad at 200 yards. You're perfectly fine. And I'm like, okay, all right. Okay, I'm okay with this.
I think for me, a big part of what I had a problem with was that, to what you said, he's walking around like RoboCop. Like, he thinks this is his RoboCop, but maybe he's one of those people that doesn't understand that RoboCop is a satire. They clearly in the editing process don't understand that Judge Dredd is a satire.
No, they don't.
And if this is a straightforward dystopian future movie that's not called Judge Dredd, and they're not trying to do a satire, like it's just an action movie about cops who now also have license to try and execute whoever or sentence whoever just because the system is so overrun with crime, I think it's an okay movie. Like, it's fine. As a Judge Dredd movie where it's supposed to be a satire, that's where I was like, oh, this doesn't feel quite right. Like, the actors who are doing the block war, they feel like they're straight out of RoboCop. They feel like they're overplaying their hand and they're doing some RoboCop shenanigans. Stallone shows up and like, you can see where it could turn into a RoboCop, but then it doesn't do anything with it. There's no satire. He's just playing it straightforward. They're playing the cops as just the definition of good and justice, even though there's moments in the movie where they are literally challenging Dredd's understanding of the law and his understanding of how the law can and should be applied. And at the end of the movie, they're just like, you got him, Dredd. You won. Now get back to work. And he's like, okay. There's a big missing chunk of context with what the character is and what the story they're trying to tell is.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because I don't blame this anyway on the director, Danny Cannon. This is like his first big budget movie. He was a young guy who was doing like a passion project for him, and he
has no sway. Like, the studio's going to butcher this movie. Stallone's going to butcher this movie and make it whatever they want it to be.
So I actually really appreciate what he put on screen, what the costuming looked like. I think he pulled together an amazing set designer, costumer. I think the movie itself, for the most part, looks really good. I think the people around Stallone knew what the director was going for and what they were reading on the script. And up until like when Stallone takes off the mask, it was, what I say, I think it was like 1621 or something like that. I actually was really digging this film, because when he starts going through, the kind of like the apartment battle, going up, room by room, and he is saying, okay, we're going to, like, talking to his gun, stun 5, lock 3 and all this stuff. And he's like walking into rooms, judging everybody and giving them their sentences. I was like, this to me is a fantastically beautiful satire and a kind of gory shoot 'em up of late 80s, early 90s stuff. Like, I could totally have seen like Paul Verhoeven, who did RoboCop, Starship Troopers, Basic Instinct. He's really good at the satire thing of, he understands the script and goes, oh, I need to push these buttons so that people understand I'm pushing satire so hard it's almost parody. And I was getting that feeling from it. I appreciate that the director had enough sway that he told Rico and Stallone, who apparently both brown-eyed, he had them wear the blue contacts. And there was something going on with Stallone's face. Like, I don't know if they added like maybe the contouring of it, or maybe they added some maybe minimal prosthetics to make him and Rico look a little more alike. But his face looks slightly off. But then again, Stallone's face has changed a lot in the last 50 years with all of the stuff he's done to himself.
I think part of it is that like his right eye is a different shape than his left eye. And I think that kind of, and plus obviously Stallone and Armando Sante don't look exactly the same. Like, they have really similar chins, which I'm sure is probably part of how Armando Sante got cast, but they look nothing alike, and they're supposed to be like a perfect DNA match brother twin situation. So like, if this is made in like even 2005, they would have just had Stallone play both roles. And they would have just done like a minor prosthetic of like a scar over the eye or something.
Yeah. So I don't really have a whole lot of issues with the script. William Wisher Jr. and Steven DeSouza, they did the script. They are responsible for some of the Die Hards, Terminator movies, 13th Warrior, stuff like that. So they understand what they wrote. I have a feeling, I could probably never prove this, but maybe I should look for some interviews. Maybe it's already been proven. I think when Stallone joined this movie, they wrote in Rob Schneider, because I have no clue why the hell he's in this movie. It starts off
I
with
legitimately
him.
remember him being in the movie a lot more and being much more annoying.
Like, it starts with him being released from jail, which you do get a nice overview of the city, of things flying around, and the whole like joke of like, oh, we're being dropped off in heavenly something. It must be that place with like the nude chicks up swimming on top of the top floor, and then they actually go to like the slums. But man, I could not stand Rob Schneider in this. And it's so,
I remember him being so much more annoying. Like, maybe that's where I didn't find him as grating. I thought he was in more of the movie, and to find out that he disappears pretty much throughout most of the first act, and then he's just kind of there every now and again throughout the rest of the movie. And you can tell also at the end of the movie, they reshot it because some test audiences were like, well, what happened to Fergie? Where's he? And then they just brought him back because he's just sitting there saying nothing to nobody while he's getting gurneyed out.
Yeah.
And he, hey, Dredd, thanks. Don't forget to thank me. Okay, bye.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, that someone, either a producer, a CEO, or maybe it was a test audience, was like, what happened to Rob Schneider? He just disappeared at the end. And they went, okay, yeah, we'll pull Rob Schneider back. And I think the kiss with Diane Lane is also a reshoot.
That has to 100% be a reshoot.
There is no romantic tension anywhere with any of that. And that they just were like, we need to have the girl kiss the guy because that's what happens.
That reminds me of, I know we've touched on this before, but like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and The Rock.
They're too big of people and they can't kiss women. It's gross.
It's weird. It is so weird seeing them kiss people. It has to be like the size, maybe the machismo kind of thing. I don't know, but like I realize like there's the only time where it kind of works for Arnold kissing somebody is Conan the Barbarian, because he's supposed to be like this rough brute who doesn't know how to like touch women, right? So like,
see, I was thinking Junior.
Oh wait, okay, you know what? You're right, Junior, and
I get what you're saying with Conan though.
What is the Jamie Lee Curtis? I love that film.
Oh, True Lies. Yeah,
True
that
Lies,
one.
yes.
Yeah, but they both rise to action star status in that movie.
Yes,
like there's an equality there. Mm-hmm. Whereas with any of the other movies, and I think with Junior, the romantic tension there is based around the role reversal.
Okay.
And so like it comes across better, and Arnold is much softer in that movie. Whereas with most of his other action movies, he's too macho, and it comes across as just bizarre that this guy would take a moment to be like, I need to kiss someone right now.
And even like The Rock, when like Jungle Cruise with like Emily Blunt, like they don't really kiss per se. They just kind of like hug kiss. And then some of his other films are it's like, well, I'm already a family man, so I don't need to make out with my wife because it's already established we're together and have adult children.
You can't forget Tom Cruise as well. Not that he's too machismo, it's just that it's gross and weird if he kisses someone. It just looks really weird and unnatural. Like, he has chemistry with people. I will compliment Tom Cruise. Like, he is a good actor. Mm-hmm. He has great chemistry with people when they are conversing. The minute he puts lips on someone, there's no chemistry there.
Days of Thunder, I think, because they were falling in love and got married. I think that's maybe
okay,
the only one I can think of.
Anything post 1994. Post The Firm?
Yeah, and post Interview with the Vampire, because I really believed he and Brad Pitt were making out during that movie.
Well, I mean, that one I wouldn't doubt. Now I'm in the closet. Now I'm in the closet too.
But that kiss with like Daniel, that's a reshoot, because it's just like, because it's punctuated by a one-liner of like, I knew you'd say that. It's like that's not even a good catchphrase.
I love it because it is so stupid. Like the first time he says it, it's like, oh, okay, he's grizzled veteran dude. He's heard it all before. So that I knew you'd say that. He's heard it all before, and he's seen people go back on their word and like proving that they've lied. I love it. But then it keeps coming back where he's saying it to Hershey, he's saying it to Fergie, he's saying it to everyone. Like it is a catchphrase and not just like, I am cynical, I am worn down, I've heard it all before.
After that, which I really dug, I actually really appreciated the first sequence where I felt like, okay, this is Judge, this is a character, they're doing something with this. But once it gets beyond that there's the ploy to move him off the streets to train other people so the mask comes off. I didn't really like that. The plot was fine, I guess. I'm still not quite sure how Idiot MacGuffin didn't realize that this complete psychopath kind of almost redo of Demolition Man of, well, we're going to bring about this psychopath who's going to help us destabilize things, and I hope he doesn't
He's a wild card.
Yeah, he's going to turn on us. And it turns out that they're blood brothers, and Dredd come out as like this perfect, emotionless, literally knows the book, so he can throw it, so he can shoot it at people. And this other's pure psychopath who knows how to abuse the law to kill people. I didn't really like any of that. What I was more invested in was the world, because I don't believe a Judge Dredd film other than Carl Urban's, which was, it was fairly low budget, compact, kind of like Attack the Block. You're in he's literally battling up from bottom floor to top floor. I don't believe we'd get a movie that would have like some deep lore stuff of the Long Walk, the cannibal religious tribes, all this other world building stuff that they were throwing in, which was very fascinating and seemed to be straight from the comics as far as I can tell. I was liking all of that. But the main plot's just kind of, it's a retread of Demolition Man, which we got 2 years back, and it's Rob Schneider and Sylvester Stallone again, which, by the way, Schneider's playing the same role 2 years later. He and Stallone must have been great friends.
I remember the world building stuff being longer as well. Like I don't remember this movie feeling so brisk. Even with it being not a great watch, it's still a pretty breezy 90 minutes.
Yes.
But I thought like the stuff with the Angel family and all that stuff, I thought that was a lot longer than just like a 5, maybe 10-minute action scene.
But I thought that scene was longer too. But all it is one okay action sequence so that the reveal of the plot can happen literally a second time in a row, which I felt was so odd because Diane Lane, who surprisingly looks amazing in really huge shoulder pads.
I don't know what you mean. Diane Lane looks amazing in everything.
That's true. They hatch a plot for Rico, who Judge Dredd had judged like 10 years before, but he like sentenced him to death, and Rico was kind of quieted away to work on science projects. Kind of like, and then is brought out.
Oh, that's sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. We didn't have any connections to Titanic this week, but we do have a connection to previous Nostalgia-thon episode, although they pronounce it differently. They call it Janus, where GoldenEye called it Janus, but it's the same spelling, different projects. But I was like, 1995 was a weird year for people wanting to be Buzz Lightyear and using the word Janus.
Must have been because of Friends episode Janus. So the plot is to get Dredd off the streets because he's too good at his job. So his identical blood twin is broken out of jail and sets him up for murder. Hershey does a great job defending him, but it turns out that the gun used fired bullets that are tied to like your DNA coding, and so therefore it must have been Dredd, and he is sentenced to be sentenced to a lifetime in isolation in the Supermax prison.
So that's one thing with the plot that I don't fully understand it seems redundant that the bullets would be laced with the DNA of the shooter when the gun cannot be used by anyone but the person whose DNA it is tied to. So if the gun was fired and they know it's Dredd's gun, then that should be it. But if they don't have that gun, then that case should remain open. But like that's a weird lore addition that they threw in just so they can tease the clone thing, and they can they can just get Dredd off the streets for whatever reason. Like that's a really weird plot contrivance.
Yeah, that is weird because they say that because it's even established in that first block shoot where someone's like, it's a Dredd, it's a Judge gun. He picks
it's a
it up
lawgiver.
A lawgiver, and he like electrocutes him to death. And then Dredd picks it back up. So that is right. If the gun can't be fired by anybody but that, why would the bullets also be DNA coded to the firer? That's weird.
Yeah, that's one thing that in our post Cinema Sins world, like it's a little detail that I think is a step too far, except for in the case of making this plot work.
So he gets sent out there, and that is another thing that I was like, this is obviously the studio interfering, because she's researching this and finds out that the one picture of Judge Dredd as a baby with his parents is actually a super Photoshop, basically, and they're able to kind of crack that and remove it, and it turns out it's an infant like in a pod, and so they realize, oh my god, he was like a science experiment. To then cut to the Angel family all being, after judges killed them, and Max von Snowden laying there dying after being pierced through the heart, and then telling him, by the way, you were an experiment. I was like, yeah, we got that the previous scene, guys. But that fight scene, that's where I also feel like this movie lost me a bit, because Judge Dredd at the training school, like explaining the rule book and all that stuff, cool. I liked that. I don't like that he's not in his mask, because that kind of defeats the purpose of Justice is Blind, and all of them are ever seen outside their costumes, outside their helmets. Then he fights the Angel family because they're cannibals. But I felt like in that moment he should have been, as he was he was killing them because they're attacking him, that he should have been telling them why he's killing them. There should have been something should have sparked in him of like, well, even though I'm Judge Dredd and I was sent to prison, I should still be doing my job here. It should have been an automatic thing. Instead, we had this like quippy one-liner Stallone action sequence.
Yeah, that is punctuated with him going, "I knew you'd say that."
Exactly.
Got to get the catchphrase in there.
Overall, this movie's just kind of weird. It's so when Rico takes over and starts his project to basically make an entire police force of clones of himself, because he wants like the perfect psychotic fighting force, right? He's introduced to Dr. Ilsa Hayden, who is the doctor that declared him mentally insane in a private panel so that they wouldn't execute him. They would kind of put him in Supermax. Why does she have like googly fuck me eyes the rest of the movie with it?
I'm so happy you brought it up, because I needed to ask you. I didn't bother going back and watching it. I couldn't be bothered at the time. So when they're introduced, she's like fully dressed, like her top is zipped. There's nothing sexualized about her, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, she's in a lab. She's doing business work. She's actually afraid of him.
The minute he's like, "Hey, we should bang it out, and you should join me in my crusade, where we're gonna change the plan up a little bit." The minute she's on board with that, which all that happens off screen, the minute it's revealed that she is like a hench person for Rico, all of a sudden the boobs come out. Like she's got cleavage. Mm-hmm. She's presenting herself as like this sexy badass. Mm-hmm. And she couldn't have just been a sexy badass from the beginning. Like she had to have that full heel turn. She's already working with the bad guy. The double turn of the bad guy turning on the bad guy, like she doesn't need to like then pop out her boobs. Like the boobs could just be out to show she's like a bad person, because boobs out in the 90s, you're a bad person unless you're Jessica Rabbit. But even then, Jessica Rabbit was presented as the bad guy until they revealed very firmly that she is not the bad guy.
She's not bad. She's just drawn that way.
Well played.
Dr. Ilsa. He brings was it Judge Griffin, who's secretly kind of like wanting to like basically he wants to create more law. Well, he wants to create more disorder and chaos, which his plan also involves getting a bunch of the judges killed so that he can roll out an entire police force of Judge Dredds for some reason.
Even though I'm pretty sure you could probably go to the council and be like, Dredd's getting old. He's not gonna last forever. We have this in our back pocket. Maybe we should do this.
Yeah, so that part doesn't make sense. But he brings Rico into the lab so Rico can use some of his insanity science to start basically checking the formula, getting everything for the mass cloning experiment they're about to do. Because instead of like taking 18 years to grow a clone, now with the new tech, they can get it in 8 hours. But he brings Rico in, and that's how he introduces Elsa with the whole, you declared me insane. How dare you? I was insane. I knew exactly what I was doing. And then from that moment on, she's like, okay, this is great. We're going to do science and I'm on your side. From literally that moment on, like when the evil robot comes in and like kills the Judge Griffin.
I love that robot design.
Oh, I love that robot. Looks amazing. Because that is, again, another thing. It looks what I imagine is comic accurate. It's a practical design machine. It has enough of that kind of clunkiness of the late 90s animatronics where they were just becoming smooth, but they weren't quite perfect. It just looks like it belongs in that world. Like, I would not be surprised to see that thing walking down the street. She just watches it kill Judge Griffin, and she's like, well, this is lovely. I'm so excited to be here. And by the way, there's a bed over there if you want to kill a few hours between clones. Cloning patches. But I realized primarily why she is there. Because this is the 90s, and if there's a female hero, there must be a female villain. Because you can't have a girl fight if there's a girl and a guy involved.
Yep. Equality means girls fight girls and boys fight boys.
Exactly. Which I actually really did like that girl fight, because because while Dredd is fighting Rico, they're fighting around like all the clones that are starting to emerge because they're not quite done. They're only like 60% finished, but he's like, I don't care. I need Rico's like, I don't care. I need backup. And you have all these gooey, gross, weirdly done, only white muscle clone people breaking out of the capsules. And the girls are fighting.
And they never actually get out of the capsules either.
No,
like, I
don't.
remember them. I forgot about those until they showed up, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember being terrified of these things. I wonder what they do. They stick their hands out and then get exploded for no reason. Like, I do not remember, literally having watched this movie last night, I do not remember how or why those explosions started.
I don't either. All I got out of it was they needed a reaction of the girls like going like, oh my God, that's gross and disgusting. So we can take our fight over here to beat each other up. And Stallone to like get one moment with one of the clones like looking into the pod where he sees it, opens its eyes, and he's like, oh my God, he doesn't say
that's
it,
what I was like,
but he's like, that was me, because the blue eyes, or whatever. Do you believe that the end fight inside the Statue of Liberty's head directly inspired the end of X-Men 1? Because part of it gets blown off like in X-Men 1. Somebody's dangling off the side of it. Like
if any
X-Men
movie
1.
inspired that sequence, it's Batman Forever, because Batman Forever also has the Statue of Liberty's face get destroyed in the opening sequence.
Yeah.
When Two-Face is finishing off his heist.
Half his face, half of statue's face.
Yes. Yes. There's so much meat on the bone for this movie where the clones, like, you can have an identity crisis for Dredd, but Dredd never goes through any real crisis. Like, the biggest crisis of faith he has is when he is sentenced to go to that supermax prison. And even then he's just like, they carried out their judgment. I'm innocent. I'm not happy about it, but what can I do? And then they get shot down because the Angel family shows up and they're the only survivors. But like, going back to like the lack of satire in this movie, there is just so much that they could do, where you could go the RoboCop 2 route, where the law is the law, and if you're breaking the law, you got to go to extremes, especially when you have the judge, jury, and executioner all in one package with these judges in these cities. There's just so much extra stuff, but it just becomes pretty standard propaganda stuff from the 90s.
The movie ends with Dredd winning, of course. And it is the only thing I actually liked about the ending is that if they knew it was a one and done, they could have, which they didn't, they wanted franchises, they could have had Judge Dredd accept the position as like the top magistrate or whatever the heck it was. Instead, I actually appreciate, he says, I'm a street judge and I'm late for duty. I actually kind of liked that.
I didn't mind it either. I thought that was a good ending for what this character is. Like it reestablishes who he is and his motivations.
Right. But there is no resolution to it. Like, we don't find out if because the entire panel, the entire magistrate council was killed.
The chief justices,
Chief Justice, thank you. Since they were all killed and there's no one to take the blame for any of the crap that happens. There's no explanation for 100 dead judges. So what's the violence going to happen? What violence happens? Does his plan, Rico's plan, just completely fall apart? And there is no kind of like resolution to the main crux of the story. And so we don't get the biting satire of, and then things got worse,
and there's, speaking of meat on the bone, they established that Mega City 1 is going to run out of like food in 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's not the problem we're dealing with.
Yeah. There's all these threads that they could have pulled that would have let us know what direction they were hoping for. Instead, it just ends up, as you said, generic 90s action-y film. The guy without emotions, the super cop, gets kissed in the end. The police force will probably rebuild itself, but what about the problems of the mega city? What about the problem? Like, they established that this mega city, it's like, we have 400 million people here, we were only meant for 20. They don't establish any of that, even though they do set up there's class dynamics and other things where some people are living in the high rises with topless chicks hanging out in pools, and other people are living in, getting out of jail, and this is their apartment building, but it's already filled with 3 drug runners.
Yeah, it's a Coruscant situation.
Yeah, there isn't
enough social commentary. There's very surface level commentary that is just bare bones enough to allow them to tell the story they want to tell.
Right.
But that's where this movie fails, is because it doesn't have anything to say. It's just a pretty standard cop movie.
The reason why I say I would have loved to see this as a Paul Verhoeven movie is because Starship Troopers does the fanaticalism that this movie wanted to before it was stripped back. It would have been great to have that have a punctuation like the end of Starship Troopers for this film. The end of Starship Troopers, they're continuing the eternal war against the bugs, right? And the final shot is, oddly enough, a guy named Rico, Johnny Rico.
I had thought about that as well. Yeah,
he's the lead. He's now like the leader of the platoon. What is he? He's giving the same speech that was given to him when he was, when he joined this group, of the whole, like, I'm the leader until I'm dead or someone better takes over or whatever. And he's given that, and it cuts to like a bunch of 12-year-olds because that's all that's left, because the fighting force has been diminished because of this eternal war to he's literally leading children to die. Now, if they had done something like this with Dredd, which is, they mentioned, like, we're running out of we're running out of judges, 98 in the last like 12 hours. What are we doing? They have that cloning project that it's illegal and it's done with.
And it's been blown up. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been completely blown up. It would have been, you could have punctuated that satire by having like Hershey, like it ending, Dredd takes off on his motorcycle because he's late for work. And you could have had Hershey like swearing in like a bunch of teenagers, and then you get that of the whole, like, we stopped the bad guy, but everything is still worse. And now we have children leading the cops. But they just pull it back and back and back. And you can tell at certain moments that this movie was just, as you said, picked apart to like try to make it as palpable as a franchise. Because when Dredd removes his helmet at 21, he puts it on briefly to sneak back into the judge's precinct, and his helmet gets yanked off again and stays off for the rest of the movie. And it's back on for what, like,
until he's late for work. Yeah. For what the movie is, I don't hate that the helmet comes off. Like, I appreciate the Carl Urban one because he does stay in the helmet. And like you said, it's in reference to Justice is blind. But with this movie, that's not the point, and it never really is. Like, they even try to have that moment with Max von Sydow's character when he asks, like, who's the lady in this place? Like, oh, that's Lady Justice, and she's blind because Justice is blind. Never comes back into it. He's never forced into a conflict of, maybe I was wrong with Fergie, which I have to bring up Fergie. We're getting close to an hour at this point, but I have to bring up the fact that Dredd would never call him Fergie without there being a better relationship there.
Right.
He doesn't even start calling Hershey Hirsch until the end of the movie. And they've been working together for years at this point, like 3 years, I think they said, 5 years maybe. He has met Fergie once, and then they're in a plane crash together. They wake up and he's like, Fergie, what are you doing? They're only calling him Fergie because that's probably what they called him in the comic books. And I know in the comic books, Fergie dies. But there's no reason for Dredd in this movie, let alone the story they're telling, for him to start calling him Fergie. There's not even a moment where Rob Schneider says, my friends call me Fergie. So like that's something where I've said similar things in the past where you have a character who they call them one thing. I think it was in a Talking Back episode where there's a character who calls the character Violet Violence which is like the worst nickname ever. But he calls her Violence to like gaslight her. And then there's like this super serious conversation later in the book, and he keeps calling her Violence, which is his gaslighting nickname for her, when he's trying to get her on his side. And it's like, that's a moment where you call her by her name, her chosen name, the name that she prefers. When you call her Violet, she knows something's up. Like, oh, you never call me Violet. This is the same fucking situation where he's like, Ferguson, don't do this. Ferguson, stop. Ferguson, shut up. And then he gets down. And he's like, Fergie. And then all of a sudden, like, maybe it clocks for him. Like, oh, only my friends call me Fergie. He means something.
Yeah.
That's one of those moments that you could have here. But they just start calling him Fergie because Ferguson is too long of a name to say on screen. And like, you just have to make sure that people have a fun nickname for Rob Schneider's character.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, all of that. One of the things that I did find that I really enjoyed is the sales robot that is bustling around trying to like hawk its products. It's like, recycled materials, great for the environment, okay for humans.
It's like the only good joke in this entire movie.
Which that it leans to the script writers and the director knew what kind of thing that they had. They're do not think this movie is nearly as bad as people crap on it. That, no, it's not. They're mad about the whole helmet thing. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Okay, it's fine. It's the late 90s. What are you going to do? Hell, 90% of the time, Spider-Man takes off his mask in the MCU. Iron Man drops his helmet constantly.
If it's the final fight, the mask is definitely coming off.
Yeah, the mask is off. He's got to fight it. He's got to 1v1 these bad guys. What are we going to do about it? The only franchise that seems intent upon keeping their person in a mask is the Mandalorian, and that's because Pedro
Don't forget the Power Rangers, even though they tried.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I looked at more behind the scenes stuff of them like wearing like the half helmet things. that was a terrible design decision.
It sure was. Thankfully, someone stood up and said, wow, this is not a great idea. Maybe we should redo this.
Yeah, so I think the production design is great. I think that everybody other than Schneider and Stallone knew what they were doing. Your boy Armando Sante.
Armando Sante as Rico. Oh, that is a performance that I love. Like, that's up there with Arnie as Mr. Freeze. That's up there with Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face.
Mm-hmm.
That one line exchange where they're arguing, they're trying to figure out, Rico is grilling Dredd about, like, why did you arrest me? And finally Stallone just goes, you broke the law. And he just snaps back. I love it. He says it with such disdain, but with such camp at the same time. And then the quick head snap to the side and he walks away. And then he also has like the, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts moment where he like what is it? He's like, you want a new beginning? I am the new beginning. Like, he just goes ham with it, but in just a way that fits with the idea of the movie.
Yeah.
If this is a satire, if this is presented fully as a satire, this is a top 10 villain performance of all time.
Oh, yeah.
But because this isn't a bad movie that doesn't understand what it's adapting, or at least it's been cut to hell, so it's not adapting the thing that it should be, it's just a really weird performance. And even so, it's still really great.
No, I agree. This movie, the first like 20 minutes of Stallone. Okay, actually, until Stallone is put on trial, I think that works. That is a continuous straight line performance of this is Dredd. Like, I actually, his like kind of anger, about, the footage has been doctored. That all kind of makes sense. He knows he's innocent and he's trusting the system, but now the system has let him go. But the second he gets off of that Con Air, he gets off of that, it becomes a Stallone film. And that is where I think we really lose the through line. If we could get that consistent performance of, he's just emotionless, he's not doing his quips, he's like, you need one of those dystopian, like, the old retired lawman kind of thing, and someone looks at him and goes like, why are you still doing this? He's like, it's the only thing I know how to do, kind of thing. You need one of those moments. But if you keep that through line there, let Rob Schneider die, and you remove the kiss, I think it's more of a tonally consistent film that is bordering on getting what we wanted. But instead, you can tell the studio and Stallone, right about the plane crash, went, this is our film now. We gave you the first act, the other two acts are ours.
Complete non sequitur. While you were talking, I remembered that when Stallone first shows up on screen as Dredd, his first lines are, I am the law. I know I did a bit earlier, and I legitimately could not remember what he actually said when he showed up, but like him showing up, which again, God, I wish this was a satirical comedy, action comedy like RoboCop. Him showing up and doing, I am the law. Beautiful moment of satire if you continue that through line. But instead it's just, he's a cop, he's right, he's on the side of the law, and there's no room for nuance in this world. And they challenge him like 3 times and he never apologizes, and he never says anything about how Fergie's circumstance might have actually garnered some sympathy, or some, he has no time to hear him out, and he doesn't care, and he never grows with it. And like, that's clearly what they're going for, but it never happens.
You know who I just realized, but I was pitching and arguing for? Simon Pegg in Hot Fuzz.
Better satire.
Because that is the performance that I actually want, because he doesn't really change the entire film. And in fact, the end of the movie, which comes into this big bombastic fight scene where he literally arrests the entire freaking town. Spoiler alert on a 20-year-old near perfect movie. I can watch that movie anytime. That is kind of what I think the original script for this film was. Is that before studio and Stallone started tinkering with, we can franchise this. Yes, it's going to be great. All the kids are going to love like the really big, listen, big shoulder pads were huge in the 80s. We're bringing them back in 95.
If you gave me a movie that was a blend of RoboCop and Hot Fuzz, that might be my favorite movie ever.
Simon Pegg's just we got to get this to him quick. He's going to start aging out of the bracket really soon.
So before we go, we've brought it up a couple of times. The Carl Urban Dredd movie, I think, is a beautiful movie. Like it is a legitimately good movie, but again, it's missing the satire. And I think it plays it too straight with the war on drugs kind of stuff. I'm going to plug at time of recording, the most recent episode of Back to the Balcony. Antonio and Justin talk about RoboCop 2. It's a really great conversation. I'm not going to preempt anything. I'm going to just recommend you go listen to that episode. Just a great conversation about like how critics misunderstood RoboCop 2 and the plot details within it. There's a misconception on who the Punisher is. The Punisher is a vigilante. He's a guy who does not like cops. He especially doesn't like corrupt cops. They get in the way of him doing his thing. The Dredd in Carl Urban's Dredd is more in line with what the comics are, but they're missing that satire. It's still a little bit too straightforward for me. As a movie in and of itself, I think it's still really good. These kind of movies, especially to be palatable now, they need that sense of satire and not necessarily cynicism, but irony, because they need to make sure that they need to poke people and be like, please understand that this is not glorification of the violence and the laws, the justice system. This is poking holes and like shining a light on the flaws in the system and how like people need to understand that there is nuance within the law, and people need to be able to utilize it in a way that helps people and not just the letter of the law and it hurts people and people who are just caught in the system.
Yeah, he gets out of jail because what was his crime, like electronics tampering or something like that.
Yeah, he's a hacker, which never comes up. Even when he takes on the robot, he's just pulling cords.
Yeah,
he's not doing anything that is unique to him being a hacker. That leads into you being like, oh, I think Stallone just wanted his buddy in this movie because he needed a comedy sidekick.
So he gets sent back to jail in that first 15 minutes because he goes into his house. It's overrun by a bunch of people rioting, and I think they're arms runners or something like that. And then Dredd finds him hiding inside of like a mobile vending machine and gives him 5 years for tampering with electronics. He's like, I literally got out of jail this morning. And you're right, they never actually resolve that thread. Throughout the entire movie, he's stuck with Stallone because Stallone wants to take him back to jail. And he does help Stallone occasionally. Happenstance helps him. And he keeps trying to tell him, like, hey, can you let them know I'm innocent? He doesn't resolve that. He just ends up getting shot.
He never acknowledges it.
No, he just ends up getting shot. And like you said, that must have been a reshoot or add-in, because he doesn't even interact with Dredd or Hirsch at the end. He's just being led away on a stretcher, presumably back to jail.
Yeah, the closest thing they ever get to any kind of resolution with that thread is when they're waiting outside the exhaust port and Fergie throws the fact that Dredd is like still kind of ruminating on the fact that he was innocent and the system found him guilty, even though like the evidence was largely lacking. Not that he was aware that there was someone else that shared his DNA, but like Fergie throws that back at him and he's like, sucks when the justice system doesn't work for you, huh? And that's kind of it. Like that's the end of the thread, even though there's no real emotional payoff to it.
Which, if they wanted to have it a full satire, at the end, as Fergie is being like taken away, Dredd should have gone over and like he said, like, cool, tell them I'm innocent, and he could have looked at him and said like, time served or something like that, right? He could have, or he could have just straight up looked at him and gone like, and listed like the 6 laws he broke today.
I mean, that would have been better, honestly, is he would have been like aiding and abetting a fugitive, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, time served, you know, that would have been a good twist where he's grown a little bit. But I don't know that the script allowed him to grow that much, because the original script probably was a bit more satirical and they just didn't know what to do with it. But
yeah.
Who the hell knows? We're just speculating at this point.
my final thoughts on this are basically like, it's not that bad of a film. It's not as good as it could have been, but I appreciate it for what it tried to do. I didn't hate rewatching it. I actually found myself quite fond of it in moments. I'm like, it's a practical world. It's a lived in world. It's just that tug of war that starts happening towards the middle of the second act. It just starts kind of falling apart.
Yeah, and we have to shout out our guy, Alan Silvestri. He understood the assignment and did the extra credit as well with the score.
Oh, yeah. Great
God
score.
love Alan Silvestri. The score does not match the quality of the final product.
Hell no.
The score far exceeds it, just to make sure we're clear. Alex, please let everyone know about the Discord.
You can join our Discord. It's in the link below. It's tsmackpod@gmail.com. Please join us. It's where we have spirited conversations, talk about, post most of our movie, comic news, and all that stuff. It's where you can find out, like today, that it was announced that the Muppets are coming back, and they brought two family-friendly people to shepherd them for this new special, and Seth Rogen and Sabrina Carpenter. Because when you think of family-friendly, you think of those two.
I mean, when I think of satire, which the Muppets are very much satirical, I can see Seth Rogen doing it. But again, I would prefer Jason Segel coming back in some fashion. But I mean, Seth Rogen with his recent haul of Emmys, I guess he's just a big name to have on it. Which I think he's just a guy to add legitimacy to the project, because there are 2 or 3 other people that are actually like the creators of the show.
Yeah.
They just went like, hey, who can we get to add legitimacy to this? And it was Seth Rogen and Sabrina Carpenter.
And it's supposed to be a variety show, so it's supposed to harken back to their original stuff.
Which I hope that means better Muppet stuff coming soon.
Yeah, the Muppets have had a rough run the last like 30 years.
So please join the Discord. Our link is in the episode description. You can follow us on social media at Talking Smack Pod. We're on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Email us your thoughts, questions, reviews, anything you're talking about with Nostalgiathon, or you're going to go see a movie. Let us know about it. You're reading a comic book, whatever it may be. We're at tsmackpod@gmail.com. Thank you, Leo Island, for our musical themes, Beppo for our original avatars, Retro Ale Studios for our Ricky avatar. Please like, subscribe, rate, review on your podcatcher of choice. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. Alex, thanks for your time. Dear listener, thank you for listening. Alex, what should people be watching? I thought I was on point that time.
Watch Star Trek. It's getting weird.
Who loves T-Smack?
I love T-Smack. Is it true? Mm-hmm. I do, ooh.
I knew you'd say that.